Mary is replying to the questions Zacharias is asking her, writing them on a wax tablet with a stylus. From her answer, I understand that he's asking her about Joseph and her married life with him. I also understand that Zacharias has been denied all supernatural light about Mary's state and her condition of mother of the Messiah. Elizabeth goes near her husband and, laying her hand on his shoulder in a loving attitude, as if she were caressing him chastely, she says to him, "Also Mary is a mother. Rejoice over her happiness." But she does not say anything else. She looks at Mary. And Mary looks at her, but does not encourage her to say more. And Elizabeth keeps silent. A sweet, very sweet vision. It obliterates the horror of the sight of Judas's suicide. Just pause for one moment. You might find that a bit of a shock. What on earth is she bringing Judas's suicide into this? I can only surmise, without going through the book and looking at the dates, I can only surmise that the Blessed Virgin had the vision of Judas's suicide shortly before this series of visions concerning the Annunciation and the journey to Elizabeth's house. And so it's still vividly in Maria Valtorta's mind. Continuing. And this is, by the way, continuing, there's a further reference to a vision that Maria Valtorta had, which is after the death of Jesus on the cross, which she'll now refer to, and again, which predates this vision of the visitation to St. Elizabeth. Last night, before falling asleep, I saw Mary crying, bent over the unction stone on the dead body of our Redeemer. The unction stone, by the way, is the stone in the tomb on which the body of Jesus lay when he died and was going to be enclosed in Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. Continuing. She was on his right-hand side, with her back to the opening of the sepulchre grotto. The torches lit up her face, so that I could see her poor face ravaged by sorrow and washed by tears. She would take Jesus' hand, caress it, warm it against her cheeks, kiss it, stretch its fingers out, kiss them one by one, those poor, motionless fingers. Then she would caress his face, would bend down to kiss his open mouth, his half-open eyes, his wounded forehead. The reddish light of the torches made the wounds of the tortured body appear more real, and rendered the cruelty of his torture and the realism of his death more true and real. And I remained in contemplation until my mind was clear. When I came out of my supper, I prayed and I lay down to go to sleep. Then the above vision began. But Mother said to me, "Don't move, just look. You will write it tomorrow." In my sleep, I dreamt it all over again. When I woke up at 6:30, I saw what I had already seen, both when I was awake and in my sleep. And I wrote while I was seeing. Then you came and I asked you if I could add the following. They are various sketches of Mary's stay in Zacharias' house. And that's the end of the chapter. But just that brief segment of the vision of the Blessed Virgin Mary in the sepulchre with Jesus' body. At some stage I will recount the vision, the complete vision of that. But Mary was absolutely frantic at that time. Of course, none of the evangelists tell us about this, but she was absolutely frantic. And obviously we can deduce that she must have been there because she's at the foot of the cross as St. John tells us. So she wouldn't stay there or go back to the supper room while Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus would take the body to Joseph of Arimathea's tomb. That would be absurd. No, she would go with the body. She would not be left alone without it. She would not leave her Jesus alone while she's utterly frantic in the tomb. I won't go into detail about that. But what I wanted to say was that in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, it is said there is the unction stone that Jesus' body was laid on. And some of you and I have been to Jerusalem, into the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and been in that small area where is the stone on which our Lord was laid. There's been work done on what is called the edicula, which surrounds it. I think Great Britain put up the edicula because there was a problem with the structure that was unstable. It was some ugly edifice, but it did its job. I mean, holding the shrine in place back in the early 20th century, I think. But X-rays have been done on that to see inside the structure of the edicula, and it's been found that indeed there are two sides of a rocky cave. Not the top, that's gone, but two sides. And so what we're seeing in this vision, if we were in that Church of the Holy Sepulchre, we are at the place where the Blessed Virgin Mary was with the dead body of our Lord Jesus 2,000 years ago. One might say, well, maybe that rock, that cave, is not really the place of Jesus' burial, it's some other cave. One can say that, but it seems extremely unlikely. Tradition led the early Christians to see this as a place where Jesus is buried, and now we know, stripping away via X-rays all the church structures that have been built over it, we see there's a cave there. And if church tradition has told us that our ancestors have handed down over the centuries the belief that this was where Jesus was buried, it seems pretty certain that it really was where he was buried. And so with that, I'll conclude this video.